I guess the music started about my sophomore year in high school. A friend gave me a music program, and from that point on I was just making little electronic music here and there. So I guess it's been about 8 years, maybe a little bit more, just working on the project by myself. And the project is actually just by myself, and I write all the music. But it's progressively jumped from 12 people on stage live to one person, which is just me. Or right now, the really prime group piece of the group is 4 real members right now, and it's my friend Chris, my friend Patrick, and my friend Marissa.
Very cool. So, are you self-taught, or did you take lessons?
I guess in middle school I took drum lessons. Not drum lessons, I guess. I was in the East Whittier Middle School band. And then from that point, I joined the wind ensemble, and then from that point, I joined the jazz band, and I was taught how to play different instruments at that point. The piano kind of came later on, but drums was the first thing I learned, then guitar, and then bells, and then all timpanis, and all these other things. And I kind of learned how to write music from being in that project.
Wow, sounds like a lot. So who are your influences?
Like musical influences or life influences?
Oof.
Musical influences. There's a lot of different kind of influences that I have in the music itself. Anywhere from, I guess, a lot of the really distorted sound that a lot of the '90s bands that brought the British kind of brought over, called shoegaze. It's like a really distorted, really reverbed kind of noise. And I decided to kind of bring that into the electronic music that I've been so fond of growing up with. But the musical piano aspect of it, I guess it was because of this Japanese composer named Ryuichi Sakamoto. And he's just been doing stuff since the 70s, I think, and he's just a really amazing piano player and composer.
So how'd you hear of him?
I remember being a little kid. I must have been 4, maybe 5. And I was in like a lot of the Japanese culture, like ninjas and samurais and things like that. And my uncle, he decided to make me a little cassette when I was a kid, and it was just Ryuichi Sakamoto live with an orchestra. And he told me this epic story, and he would tell me the story, and then he made the cassette for me, so when I was at home I could turn it on and go to sleep and just listen to this and just imagine things with this music. And that kind of solidified in my brain, like, to kind of do that and to kind of interpret dreams with music. And I've been kind of keeping up with that and doing that with every album I've been making, like just sleeping, using those dreams as interpretations, and then using that as music, or inspiration for the music.
Very cool.
Getting signed wasn't too hard. I was writing a lot of music for a long time, and I had a writer's block for a couple of months. I couldn't write, and then I had a friend of mine, and I was writing another kind of style of music, and then I showed her like the other stuff I've been doing, the Let's Drive to Alaska's music. And she was just like, "Why haven't you showed me this before?" And I wasn't embarrassed about it. I hadn't done it in a while. I told her, like, I had a writer's block, so I couldn't really do anything about it. She goes, "Well, you gotta send this stuff out. You could get signed with this. I know you can." So I finished the record, Indigo Children, and then started sending out the demos. And this Japanese label named Zenkyo Records actually picked it up, and it's getting released, I believe, in February or in March, I believe now. This release is going to be primarily in Japan, and I think we're going to try to shoot for some American labels here and see if they want to pick up the record too, but it's going to be a little bit different. The Japanese label is going to have a couple of songs that are not going to be on the American release.
Why's that?
It's just, I don't know, I remember bands doing this like back in the 80s, like I know New Order and Joy Division, New Order specifically, that's a big influence in my music, but they would do this thing where they would release an album in Japan, and the Japan album would have like 2 exclusive singles that you can only get in Japan, or on the vinyl in Japan only.
That's not cool. What about us Americans?
Well, then you guys got some cool things too. You guys will have like singles and remixes here too. So that's what. Musically, I have a lot of favorite musicians and bands right now, but I would say the top 5. I'll give you top 5, okay? Easy. Top 5 is usually my favorite. This is band from, members of Jawbreaker broke up, and they started this band called, the guy started Just to Brazil in New York, and Just to Brazil's albums are just flawless. I love every song on every album. And then when I went to go see them when I was like 14, the band broke up before I could see them, and he had a nervous breakdown, and he just didn't play.
That's
so,
crazy.
Just to Brazil, Joan of Arc, Mice Parade, The Album Leaf, and Ryuichi Sakamoto, of course.
Very cool.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, musically, like I said, Ryuichi Sakamoto has been a subliminal kind of thing that's been going through my head, and like eventually, like I want to do what he does, and which is like just playing an acoustic piano with a live orchestra behind him, and so that's kind of that's the spot I want to get to. But I have to do a lot of groundwork before I get there. It's really interesting how a lot of technology's been bringing like that sound. Like people can produce really good records in their rooms now just by using programs. And at the same time, that kind of kills the record company in a way, because like let's say a band that's not too good makes an amazing record, but a band that's really good doesn't have that good of a quality of recording. It kind of doesn't pan out, and people start losing money, or the music in the business starts kind of degrading a little bit. But at the same time, you know what, there are some really good bands that are out there that are pushing and they are doing their own thing, being really individual. So I can't smash on everything. But you know what? I'm doing what I'm doing, and like I really like what people do, and I respect what people do. So as a musician to other musicians, I respect their musicality. There's a couple I had my eye on. There's this one called Temporary Residence, and it's a label that produces a lot of like instrumental rock kind of stuff. So, but at the same time, we're kind of not necessarily instrumental rock either. We have a lot of different genres that we kind of go through. We have classical piano pieces. We have, you know, rock stuff. We have electronic music too that's integrated in it. And not only that, but our live performance is very visual. We have a lot of the music syncing up with visuals that we've collected from, you know, old footage from the 70s to footage that we've collected ourselves, and that kind of pans out. So that doesn't necessarily give us a genre. And it's kind of, we're more cinematic in that sense. We're more of a performance piece than we are an actual band, and it's kind of strange, but it works.
Hey, as long as he gets it done.
The sound is, it's a mixture of, it's an orchestrated melodic chaos, I guess, with a hip-hop beat underneath it.
Melodic.
We have an accordion, we have a trumpet player, a cello player, a violin player, we have guitar, three guitarists, a bassist, 2 drummers, oh my god, trombone, French horn, flute. We have a lot of things. Oh, and a guy that just does electronic samples.
Well, it sounds like you guys didn't know what you're doing. It sounded like a terrible train wreck.
It does sound like it, but the thing is, everybody's been playing music for what seems like 10 years each, at least. So everybody at least knows what their sound is, and like that's what's so great about it. Like everybody brings their own little tastes, and it just fits.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Because like people do that, and it doesn't come out well.
Yeah, because that's the funny thing. Like my friend Patrick, the drummer in Let's Drive to Alaska, he also drums for the Antelopes too. And I remember him just like jamming with us and saying like, "Wow, this is interesting." Because not only are you guys at a spot or a position in time where you guys are just great musicians and you guys can play all these beautiful riffs and everything, but you can actually play these riffs and still listen to what's going on around you and just position your parts according to what's going on. Like the fills are going here, so you wait for a couple of measures and then boom, that's where you come in. Just because it's listening, and it's a lot harder.
Yeah, it is. So, what else do you like to do in the band, or do you like do your own cover art for the CDs?
Yeah, actually, that's the part. So not only do I write the music for the band, but I also go out on excursions, and I take photos, and I take sound samples with my recorder, and I go out into the hills, or I'll go into LA and record a bunch of just random things, and then bring them home, and then digitize them and put them in my computer, and then use them as samples for the next record or song that I'm working on. Or sometimes I'll have an idea and I'm like, oh, I really want to get this sound. I gotta take my camera, I'm gonna take my thing, my little recorder, and I'm gonna go record the specific sound. I'll take pictures. And that album work that I take is from the pictures that I've been collecting throughout the process of making the album. But this last album, my cousin Asia, she's a really great artist, and she designed this, her and her friend Paul Cooley designed this, the cover art, and the name of the album is Indigo Children, and it's really based around past lives, and it's old pictures from our family from like the 60s and 70s.
Oh wow.
And it's just the most beautiful like pictures I've seen, and my grandfather took the pictures, which is even more interesting. So we're integrating our family into the, yeah, family is one of the biggest things. I have my father's and my mother's side, very big. I remember being like, in my mom's side specifically, I remember being a kid and my mom and dad both worked, so I'd go to my grandma's house I didn't go to preschool, I went to my grandma's house, all my cousins were there. So we'd be climbing trees and playing tag and all this stuff. And so we've been doing all this stuff when we were kids, and we kind of stuck together. And then usually after a while, you know, cousins like split and they do their own things, but our cousins, we see each other every Saturday, and so we're hanging out with each other. Or my cousin Joseph lives down the street, so he'll call me up and be like, hey, let's do something. Yeah, let's do something.
Nice, that's very cool.
Yeah, I love my family so much.
So has past experiences, love, life, and what have you influenced your music?
Of course. Especially love lives. Love lives are very, very specific to writing music. I mean, the key ingredient to writing any good music is a little bit of love, right? I mean, you could say it's not about love, or you could say it's about either the deterioration of love or the being of love. And in the process, you kind of find yourself in the middle. Like, the last album, Indigo Children, had a funny thing, because it was like in the process of being in love and the process of being out of love. And it's just this weird kind of like mixture of everything. So that's why the album's like really strange, to me at least personally.
Do you have any songs dedicated to family members or friends?
Yeah, I had another album called Bell in a Mirror. It was released in 2007 on an Italian label called Muerte Pop Records, and I wrote a song for this girl I knew named Avery Hart. She lives in Oklahoma. She was a good friend of mine, and I wrote a song about her, and she really liked it, and you can get it online for free now.
Very cool. So do you have your stuff on iTunes or cdbaby.com or anything?
Right now, when the record comes out, we're going to get it out on iTunes, and then we're going to have an online place where you can order them online too. But there is a website. If you go to muertepoprecords.com, you can get the old record, Bell in a Mirror, and you get it free download, and it's 7 songs, I believe.
Cool. Well then, that's all the questions I have.
Okay.